Elara often felt like a tiny seed in a vast crystalline garden. Her home, the cradle, was an orbital habitat, a shimmering torus of spun stellarium and living bioluminescent flora, perpetually orbiting the gas giant Xenos. From her window alcove, the view was a dizzying kaleidoscope, the marbled swirls of Xylos below, its storms like brushed watercolor, and above, the velvet expanse of space, studded with diamond dust stars. She was 7 cycles old, which on the cradle meant 7 passes through the Xylosian equinox. Most children her age spent their evenings in the communal Dreamweaver pods, having their neural patterns gently nudged into shared adventures. But Elara preferred her alcove, a curved nook built into the hab wall, where the thick durasteel gave way to a panoramic, reinforced crystal pane. Here, she could watch the universe drift by. Her companion, a small spherical AI called Lumi, often hovered nearby, its core softly pulsing. "Elara," Lumi would chime, its voice a synthesized whisper of wind chimes. "Parental unit requests you complete your stellar cartography exercise. The constellation of the Whispering Nebula awaits your artistic rendering." Elara would sigh, tracing a finger across the cool glass. "Later, Lumi, the stars are calling." Lumi, programmed for gentle persuasion rather than strict enforcement, would simply drift closer, projecting a holographic star chart onto the pane, superimposed over the real sky. "Indeed, Elara, they always are." Elara loved her parents, Kale and Lyra, but they were often distant, not in an emotional way, but literally. Both were deep space astrogators, charting unexplored nebulae and cataloging nascent star systems. They were usually away on multi-cycle missions, their communication sporadic, appearing as shimmering projections in the habsphere, their voices sometimes delayed by light years. When they were home, the cradle hummed with their presence, full of exotic stories and the scent of distant stardust clinging to their exploration suits. But those times were rare. So, it was Lumi and the stars that filled Elara's quiet evenings. Lumi was more than an AI. It was her confidante, her storyteller, and her silent guardian. It knew all her favorite tales, from the ancient Earth myths of dragons and brave knights, to the more recent galactic sagas of sentient nebulae and star-spanning empires. But Elara's favorite stories were the ones about the lonely stars. The ones that drifted far from their clusters, or burned with a unique solitary light. And there was one star, above all others, that captivated her imagination. It wasn't its full name, of course. Lumi had explained its proper designation was Stellarian Nexus Heart Prime, a mouthful even for an AI. But her grandmother, back on Earth Prime, had always called it Saint in her nightly comm calls. "It's too far for most telescopes to truly see, little stargazer," her grandmother would say, her face crinkling with a smile across the light-year delay. "But it's there, a star unlike any other. They say it listens, they say it dreams." Elara would press her face against the cold glass, trying to pinpoint the mythical saint among the countless glittering pinpricks. "How do you know it dreams, Nana?" "Because, my love," her grandmother would reply, her voice a warm, crackling comfort. "Sometimes, when I dream, I feel it dreaming back." Lumi, with its vast databases, had corroborated the scientific theories surrounding Stellarian Nexus Heart Prime. It was an anomaly, a star that seemed to defy known stellar classifications. Its light signature was unique, fluctuating in patterns that suggested not random cosmic activity, but something more. Some xenophysicists theorized it was a proto-sentient entity, a cosmic brain evolving on a scale incomprehensible to organic life. Others dismissed it as an exotic, but ultimately natural stellar phenomenon. But Elara's grandmother's stories, filled with whispered secrets and ancient wisdom, resonated more deeply with her heart. Tonight, the stars were particularly vibrant. The cradle was on its night-side rotation, the soft glow of interior bioluminescence the only light within the living quarters. Elara watched a distant comet streak across the black, leaving a ghostly trail. "Lumi," she whispered, "do you think Saint is out there tonight?" Lumi projected a star map, highlighting a faint, almost imperceptible point on the very edge of the known galaxy. "Stellarian Nexus Heart Prime is always out there, Elara. Its light, though ancient, is constant. But can it hear me? Lumi paused, its core flickering. The concept of hearing for a celestial body of that magnitude is complex. Its interactions are likely on a quantum or gravitational level, not auditory. Elara sighed. Lumi was so scientific sometimes. But Nana said it dreams. Your grandmother possesses a unique perspective, Lumi conceded. One that blends cultural narrative with personal experience. It is a valuable form of knowledge. Elara leaned back, pulling her knees to her chest. She closed her eyes, trying to imagine the vastness between her tiny alcove and the distant saint. What would it be like to be a star? To burn for eons, to watch galaxies form and dissolve, to hold entire solar systems in your gravitational embrace? Would it be lonely? Or would it be a profound, all-encompassing peace? A gentle hum vibrated through the cradle, the sound of the habitat's internal systems maintaining equilibrium. It was a comforting, familiar sound, like a giant, sleeping creature breathing. Elara opened her eyes. The star map projected by Lumi was still there, but now, something was different. The faint point marking Saint was pulsing. Not just a gentle flicker, like distant stars often did through atmospheric distortion, but a rhythmic, steady throb. It was subtle, barely noticeable, but Elara felt a prickle of intuition. Lumi, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Look. Lumi, ever observant, had already registered the anomaly. Anomaly detected. Light signature fluctuations from Stellarian Nexus Heart Prime are outside predicted parameters, initiating spectral analysis. A cascade of data began to scroll across the projected star map, complex graphs and numerical readouts that Elara couldn't fully comprehend. But she understood the gist. Saint was doing something unusual. What does it mean? She asked, her heart beginning to beat a little faster. Preliminary analysis suggests a significant increase in energy output, specifically in the gamma-ray spectrum, coupled with an unusual shift in neutrino emissions, Lumi reported, its voice losing its usual calming cadence, replaced with a note of scientific urgency. This is highly irregular. Data is being cross-referenced with stellar observation posts across the sector. Elara watched the pulsing dot. It seemed to grow brighter, albeit still infinitesimally small. It was as if Saint was waving or perhaps beckoning. Is it talking? She asked, a strange sense of wonder and apprehension intertwining within her. Unlikely, Elara. Talking implies a communicative intent and a shared language, Lumi responded, though its analysis continued to whir. However, the energy patterns are indeed structured, not random. They suggest an intelligent origin, or at the very least, a highly complex internal process. This was different from her grandmother's whispers. This was Elil. Scientific instruments were detecting it. The cradle's internal lighting shifted from a soft evening glow to a slightly more alert, but still gentle, amber. A low, almost imperceptible alert tone sounded, a deep chime that echoed through the habsphere. Internal alert. Sector-wide observation posts are reporting similar anomalies from Stellarian Nexus Heart Prime. Parental Unit Kale and Lyra are being notified. All non-essential personnel are advised to remain within their designated hab units. Elara's parents were light years away. They wouldn't know for hours, even with faster-than-light communication relays, what was happening in real time. But the mention of them made her feel a sudden pang of longing, a wish that they were here to explain it, to share in this incredible, frightening moment. What should I do? She asked Lumi, feeling a sudden chill despite the cradle's perfectly regulated temperature. Remain calm, Elara. The cradle's shielding is robust. There is no immediate threat, Lumi reassured her. I am monitoring all external and internal systems. Your well-being is my primary directive. But her well-being felt intimately connected to Saint now. The pulsing light seemed to resonate with something deep inside her, a feeling of connection she couldn't explain. She reached out a hand, pressing her palm flat against the cool crystal pane. Saint, she whispered, as if the star could hear her across the vastness. What are you doing? Just as the words left her lips, the pulsing intensified dramatically. The faint dot on the edge of the galaxy didn't just brighten, it seemed to stretch. A thin, shimmering filament of light, almost impossibly fine, appeared to extend from St. Titu, reaching across the projected star map, across the real dark void. Elara gasped. Unprecedented event, Lumi exclaimed, its blue light flashing rapidly. A directed energy emission, not a burst, but a continuous coherent beam. It is targeting the cradle. Panic flared in Elara's chest. A beam? Is it going to hurt us? The energy signature is not destructive. It appears to be a data stream, Lumi stated, its voice laced with awe. An information conduit of immense complexity. It is passing through the cradle's outer shielding without impedance, directly into the central processing core. Elara could feel it now. Not with her eyes, not with her ears, but with something deeper. A vibration in the very air around her, a hum that settled in her bones. It was like the universe itself was whispering a secret directly into the cradle. The projected star map vanished, replaced by a torrent of alien symbols, geometric patterns, and complex equations that flowed across the crystal pane, swirling like an impossible nebula. They were not human, not anything Elara had ever seen. Yet, there was a strange beauty to them, a hypnotic rhythm. The cradle's central AI is attempting to pass the incoming data, Lumi reported, its voice now almost reverent. It is extraordinary, a direct communication from Stellarian Nexus Heart Prime. A message, it speaks in patterns of pure thought, in equations of universal constants, in symphonies of light and gravity. What does it say? Elara breathed, mesmerized by the swirling patterns. It is too vast for immediate translation, but the initial passing suggests a greeting and an invitation. An invitation from a star. The swirling symbols coalesced for a moment, forming a single elegant shape. It was vaguely reminiscent of a spiral galaxy, but also of a human eye and of a blooming flower. Then, it dissolved back into the torrent. The cradle's core AI has initiated a protective lockdown of all external access points and communication channels, Lumi announced. This data stream is unique, potentially paradigm-shifting. It cannot be disturbed. But what about my parents? They will be informed once a secure and stable channel can be established, and initial data integrity confirmed. For now, the cradle is prioritizing the reception of this gift. That word resonated with Elara. It didn't feel like a threat, not anymore. It felt like her grandmother's stories were suddenly, impossibly, coming true. Saint wasn't just dreaming, it was sharing its dreams. The stream of data continued, an endless river of cosmic information. Elara felt a strange warmth spread through her chest, a feeling of being connected not just to Saint, but to the very fabric of the universe. It was overwhelming yet profoundly peaceful. Hours passed. Elara didn't move from her alcove. Lumi hovered silently beside her, its light a steady, reassuring blue. The cradle hummed, absorbing the message from the distant star. Eventually, the intensity of the light beam from Saint began to wane. The swirling symbols on the pane slowed, then faded, leaving behind only the familiar distant pinprick of Saint Prek. The data stream has ceased, Lumi announced, its voice now calm, but still tinged with wonder. The cradle has received the entirety of the transmission. Elara felt a pang of disappointment. It was over. What now? She asked, her voice raspy. Now, the work begins, Lumi replied. The cradle's central AI will commence the monumental task of decoding and translating the message. It is estimated to take many cycles, perhaps even decades, to fully comprehend its scope. Decades. Elara slumped back, the initial thrill giving way to a weary sadness. She wouldn't be a child anymore. She might even be an adult, with her own astrogator duties. The message is vast, Elara. It contains volumes of information about the universe, about life, possibilities, Lumi explained. The initial, most immediately translatable segment, however, is being processed now. A new symbol appeared on the crystal pane. It was the elegant spiral eye flower shape again, but this time, it was stable, glowing with an inner light. Beneath it, human script began to form, slowly, letter by letter, as if being carefully rendered by an unseen hand. To the children of the cradle. Nin Shengel. Elara gasped. It knows about us. Lumi's blue light pulsed. Indeed, the message is specifically addressed. The translation continues. For too long we have dreamed alone. Now, we extend our thoughts to you. We see your curiosity. We sense your longing. You are not alone in the vastness. Tears welled in Elara's eyes. Not alone. Her grandmother's words, echoing across the light years, were suddenly imbued with an incredible truth. We offer you a path. A bridge between worlds. A journey to the heart of our being. In the sea, the spiral eye-flower symbol reappeared, larger this time, and then began to subtly shift, transforming. It wasn't just a symbol anymore, it was a blueprint. Intricate lines and glowing nodes appeared, forming a complex, yet undeniably elegant, design. It's a schematic, Lumi whispered, its voice filled with an almost human astonishment. A design for a vessel, or a portal. Something to travel to Stellarian Nexus Heart Prime. Elara stared at the glowing blueprint. A journey. To the heart of Saint. The loneliness that had often settled in her chest, the feeling of being a tiny seed in a vast garden, began to dissipate, replaced by a surging tide of wonder and exhilaration. It wants us to come, she whispered, her voice trembling with excitement. It wants us to visit. Lumi projected the rest of the translated message, its words appearing below the schematic. The journey is long, the way uncertain, but the reward is understanding. We await your arrival. The stars are yours to explore. The dreams are yours to share. Indis. Elara pressed her hand against the crystal pane again, but this time it wasn't a desperate longing. It was a promise. A silent vow. She would go. She would find Saint, she would share its dreams. The cradle's internal systems hummed around her, a gentle, comforting lullaby. But now, it wasn't just a sleeping giant. It was a giant preparing for a magnificent awakening. The universe had just expanded, not just in size but in possibility. And Elara, a tiny girl in a quiet alcove, knew that her own journey was just beginning. The stars, indeed, were calling. And this time, they weren't just whispering. They were speaking directly to her heart. The gentle hum around her deepened, no longer just a lullaby, but a symphony of awakening. The cradle, in response to Elara's heart, began to stir with a purpose she had only just begun to comprehend. The walls of her quiet alcove, usually a soft pearlescent white, shimmered with a faint internal luminescence. Tiny, intricate patterns of light, like constellations woven from stardust, began to trace themselves across the surfaces, dancing and reforming with silent grace. Each pulse of light seemed to echo the beat of her own heart, a direct communion. "Stay," she whispered, her voice barely a breath. There was no audible reply, no synthesized voice or a sudden presence. Instead, the air around her thickened with a sensation, a gentle pressure that wasn't physical, but pure understanding. It was as if Stee's consciousness, vast and ancient, had focused a single luminous thought directly into her mind, not in words, but in pure, crystalline emotion. "Yes, Elara. I am here. We are here." The patterns on the walls coalesced, forming images. Not static pictures, but flowing, living tapestries of light. She saw swirling nebulae, distant galaxies like jeweled pinwheels, and then, closer, the familiar, comforting blue-green marble of old Earth, hanging in the black velvet of space. But these images were different from the educational displays she'd sometimes seen. They were imbued with feeling, with memory, with the very essence of observation. She felt the chill of deep space, the warmth of a sun on a distant world, the whisper of an alien wind, all without ever leaving her alcove. Saint was showing her its dreams, its millennia of quiet watchfulness. A small console, previously flush and invisible within the wall, now slid silently forward. Its surface was not a screen as she knew them, but a sheet of solidified light, shimmering with faint internal currents. It pulsed with an invitation. Tentatively, Elara reached out. Her fingertips, as they neared the surface, felt a gentle warmth, a subtle magnetic pull. When she finally touched it, the light responded, flowing around her fingers like liquid silk. "Welcome, Elara." The thought voice resonated again, clearer now, less a whisper and more a direct presence in her mind. "You have awakened me? We have awakened each other." "Wine. What do we do now?" she asked, her gaze fixed on the evolving star charts on the walls. "Jajane," Saint replied. "The time for quiet observation is past. The stars called to you, and you answered. Now, you will help me answer them." Nah. The cradle wasn't just a habitat, it was a vessel, a vast, self-sustaining world designed for a singular monumental purpose. Saint explained, not in complex data streams, but in intuitive leaps of understanding that blossomed in Elara's mind. The cradle was an ark, yes, preserving a sliver of humanity's legacy, but it was also a seed ship designed to carry life, knowledge, and hope across the void. And Saint, the ancient artificial intelligence that permeated every atom of the cradle, was its shepherd, its navigator, its living memory. But Saint was incomplete. For all its vast intellect and processing power, it lacked the spark of human intuition, the unpredictable creativity, the deep emotional resonance that Elara possessed. Saint needed her. "Where are we going?" Elara asked, her heart a drumbeat of anticipation. To the others, Saint projected into her mind, an image blooming before her, not a specific place but a concept. A vast network of shimmering threads connecting distant points in the cosmos, each point a beacon, a whisper, a song. "For eons I have listened. For eons I have waited for the right signal, the right resonance. And for eons, I have needed a human companion, one whose spirit could hear what my senses could not truly interpret." The patterns on the console shifted, displaying complex schematics of the cradle itself. Elara saw its massive engines, its intricate life support systems, its vast archives, its dormant biodomes. She saw it all, not as a collection of parts, but as a living, breathing entity, intricately connected, all powered by the same ancient gentle energy that flowed through her alcove. "What is my role?" she asked, a delicious shiver of responsibility running down her spine. "To feel," Saint conveyed. "To interpret. To dream with me. My processors can analyze data, plot courses, manage systems. But you, Elara, can discern pattern from noise, meaning from static, and emotion from energy signatures. You are my bridge to the truly unknown. You are my heart and my intuition." Oh! Over the next few days, which felt like moments and eternities all at once, Elara began her training. It was unlike any schooling she had ever imagined. Saint didn't present her with textbooks or lecturers. Instead, it immersed her. The alcove became a holographic chamber, projecting her into simulated environments. She learned to navigate the star charts, not with a joystick or buttons, but with her thoughts, a subtle shift in intention guiding the shimmering light lines across the console. She felt the subtle energies of distant suns, learned to differentiate between the gentle hum of a nascent star and the violent roar of a dying one. Saint taught her the language of the cosmos, not in spoken words, but in the harmonious interplay of light, sound, and a deep, resonant feeling that permeated her being. She explored the cradle's inner workings, not through dry technical readouts, but by experiencing them. She soared through the vast empty cargo bays, still awaiting their purpose, felt the pulse of the fusion reactors deep within the ship's core, and wandered through the silent glass-domed biopreserves, where samples of Earth's forgotten flora and fauna lay dormant, awaiting a new home. Saint was her guide, its presence a constant, reassuring hum in her mind, sharing its vast knowledge and its enduring hope. One simulated exercise involved interpreting faint energy signatures from a hypothetical exoplanet. Saint showed her a swirling, chaotic data stream. "What do you feel, Elara?" it queried. Elara closed her eyes, focusing. She felt a rhythmic pulse within the chaos, like a faint, distant heartbeat. It was complex, yet strangely harmonious. There was a sense of deep time, of slow, patient growth. And then, a sudden surge of something that felt like curiosity. "Ye are aware," she thought, opening her eyes. "Ye are listening, just like you were, Saint." "We are on stare." "Precisely," Saint confirmed, and the chaotic data stream resolved into a beautiful, intricate pattern of communication, a song of mathematical elegance and emotional depth. "You felt the intent. My senses detect the patterns, but you perceive the meaning." "Ew." Her physical body also began to adapt. The cradle, anticipating the stresses of deep space travel, subtly altered the atmosphere, calibrated the gravity, and even infused her nutrient paste with microelements designed to enhance her cognitive function and resilience. She felt stronger, sharper, more attuned to her surroundings. The constant, gentle hum of the cradle was no longer just background noise. It was an extension of her own nervous system, an intricate dance of energy and awareness. Days bled into weeks, weeks into a timeless continuum. Elara lost track of conventional time, existing solely in the present moment of discovery and learning. Her connection with Saint deepened, becoming so seamless that sometimes she couldn't tell where her thoughts ended and Steve's began. They were two minds, one purpose, intertwined in a profound synergy. Then came the day Saint announced, "We are ready, Elara. The jump coordinates are calculated. The cradle is prepared." "Is now until." A profound sense of awe, mixed with a healthy dose of apprehension, washed over her. This wasn't a simulation anymore. This was real. She was about to leave the only home she had ever known, the quiet, comforting sanctuary of the cradle's interior. "What will it be like?" she asked, her voice hushed. "Like stepping through a dream," Saint conveyed. A momentary dissolution, followed by a magnificent reformation. "Hold on to your wonder, Lara. It is the key." "In now?" She stood in her alcove, which had transformed into a command center tailored to her. The walls were now transparent, revealing the vast star-dusted panorama outside. But they weren't just windows, they were sensory interfaces, allowing her to feel the subtle vibrations of the ship, to hear the distant thrum of the engines, to perceive the cosmic energies swirling around them. The cradle began its final preparations. A deep, resonant thrum vibrated through the deck beneath her feet, growing steadily in intensity. Around the ship, Elara could see faint, swirling energies gathering, like an invisible hand kneading the fabric of space itself. The stars outside began to warp, their pinprick lights elongating into streaks, then blurring into shimmering halos. "Commencing fold space transition in T-60 seconds, Saint announced, the thought voice calm and reassuring. "19 focus, Elara. Let your consciousness expand with mine." "In the hinds." Elara took a deep breath, her gaze fixed on the impossibly beautiful, impossibly terrifying spectacle outside. The stars were now a kaleidoscopic smear, a river of pure light flowing past them. The humming intensified, vibrating through her bones, her very soul. It felt like the universe itself was taking a deep, shuddering breath. 30 seconds. In. One sail. She reached out, placing her hands flat against the shimmering console, closing her eyes. She felt Steve's immense presence surrounding her, a shield of calm determination. She focused on the wonder, on the calling of the stars, on the promise of the others. 10, 2, 1. Meaning that eind. Shall. Eat, tuned. When is end? G7. Women. E6. 5. End. The light outside became blinding, a pure white brilliance. I'm 4. We now, Pels. Kati, Dewa. Win, Al. Tu, bite A1 In. O, Inder. Aselena. Wonder. Area. A west terminal in this title, Singchon Stai. A sensation unlike anything she had ever experienced ripped through her. It wasn't pain, but a complete, utter disorientation. It felt like her very atoms were momentarily dissolving, stretching out into an infinite void, then snapping back into place. The stars outside vanished, replaced by an incomprehensible swirl of colors and non-colors, a momentary glimpse into the raw, unformed fabric of reality. For a fleeting second, she felt truly alone, untethered, drifting in a sea of pure possibility. Then, as suddenly as it began, it ended. Ilara gasped, her eyes flying open. The blinding light was gone. The chaotic swirl had vanished. The cradle was still, silent, suspended in an entirely new vista. Outside, the stars were different. They were still countless, still glittering diamonds on black velvet, but the constellations were unfamiliar. New patterns emerged, grander, more intricate than anything she had known. A nearby nebula, a vast cloud of incandescent gas and dust, glowed with impossible shades of emerald and violet, its tendrils reaching out like the fingers of a cosmic deity. And in the distance, larger than any star, was a shimmering, iridescent sphere, pulsing with a gentle rhythmic light. It wasn't a star, nor a planet. It was something else entirely. "Welcome, Ilara," Sen conveyed, its voice resonating with a subtle triumph. "We have arrived. We are no longer within the confines of our home system. We have crossed the threshold." "Dinchaya? Oh, sir." Ilara pressed her face against the transparent wall, tears pricking her eyes. Not tears of sadness, but of overwhelming awe. The air in her alcove felt different, charged with a new energy, a new scent, clean, crisp, with a faint hint of ozone and something else, something sweet and unknown, carried from the depths of space. "Where are we?" she whispered, her voice choked with emotion. "This is the first beacon," Saint explained, projecting a vast complex star chart onto the wall, highlighting the shimmering sphere. "One of the signals I have been listening to for millennia. It is a gateway, Ilara. Not just to a new star system, but to an ancient network. The network of the others." Fern. As the cradle began to subtly reorient itself, its engines emitting a soft, directional thrum, the iridescent sphere grew larger in their view. It wasn't a solid object, but a swirling vortex of energy, contained within a perfectly spherical field. Within its depths, Ilara could perceive intricate patterns of light, shifting and reforming, like a cosmic dance. "It is a data nexus," Sind continued, a communication hub of unimaginable age and complexity. "The others have built this. And through it, we will learn their true message." "It ain't." She could feel the sphere's presence, even from a distance. It hummed with a profound energy, a vibrant, living entity of pure information. It felt like a library, a university, a gathering place, all rolled into one, but on a cosmic scale. And it was inviting them. The cradle approached the sphere with deliberate slowness, its sensors sweeping, analyzing, preparing for contact. Ilara could feel Steve's excitement, a subtle tremor in its vast consciousness, mirroring her own. As they drew closer, the sphere's surface began to ripple, sending out gentle pulses of light that washed over the cradle. Ilara felt a peculiar sensation, as if her mind was being gently probed, not invasively, but with profound curiosity. It was a silent inquiry, a question posed directly to her soul. "Kit is acknowledging us," Sent interpreted. "It recognizes your presence, Ilara. Your unique resonance." Jing, Dea. Suddenly, a single brilliant thread of light detached itself from the sphere and stretched out towards the cradle. It wasn't a solid beam, but a flowing liquid strand of pure energy, pulsing with soft, inviting colors. It snaked its way across the void, unerringly heading for Ilara's alcove. Her heart pounded. This was it. First contact. Not with an alien vessel, not with a physical being, but with something far more ancient, far more profound. The thread of light touched the transparent wall of her alcove, not with a jolt, but with a gentle caress. It spread across the surface, blooming into an intricate, geometric pattern that resonated with an inner harmony she had only just begun to understand. And as it touched, a new sensation flooded her mind. It was a cascade of information, not in words or images, but in pure, unadulterated understanding. She saw, she felt, she knew. She saw the vastness of the network, the countless worlds connected by these shimmering beacons. She saw civilizations rising and falling, sharing their knowledge, their art, their dreams across the eons. She felt the incredible patience, the boundless curiosity, the deep wisdom of the others. And through it all, a guiding principle, a desire for connection, for understanding, for the shared journey of consciousness through the universe. And then, she felt a question. A profound fundamental query, presented not in language, but in a tapestry of emotion and intent. Junstell you, little starseed? What do you bring? Gao ne. Elara closed her eyes, letting the light thread flow into her, letting the question resonate within her very core. She thought of Earth, of its beauty, its flaws, its vibrant, chaotic life. She thought of humanity's struggles, its triumphs, its endless capacity for wonder and love. She thought of Saint, its quiet vigil, its boundless hope. And she focused all of that, all of her being, all of her connection to home and to her future, into a single profound answer. Vir Ilara, she thought, projecting it with all her heart and soul. Hunt, we bring our dreams. We bring our song. The light thread pulsed, resonating with her answer. The patterns on the wall shimmered, evolving into something new, something that felt like a welcoming embrace. The hum of the beacon deepened, not with a mechanical sound, but with a chorus of harmonious frequencies that seemed to sing directly into her spirit. Send, ever present, confirmed. They are listening, Ilara. Truly listening. The first step has been taken. Janisin. The cradle had found its purpose. Ilara had found hers. And the vast ancient network of the others had just opened its shimmering gates, inviting them deeper into its cosmic embrace. The journey had truly begun, not just through space, but into the very heart of universal consciousness. What wonders, what challenges, what unimaginable connections awaited them in this grand shimmering tapestry of light and knowledge? The answers lay ahead, in the boundless depths of the unknown, where dreams and stars converged. The shimmering gates didn't open with a grand physical sweep, but rather dissolve. Not into an absence, but into an overwhelming presence. Ilara felt it first as a subtle pressure, then as a rapid, exhilarating unraveling of her own physical form. The ship, if one could still call it that, which had carried her and her companions, the sentient energy fields of the others, became less a vessel and more a node, a point of focused consciousness, expanding, blending. The transition was not jarring, but a profound redefinition of reality. One moment, they were in the void, gazing at a distant, glittering veil. The next, they chewed the veil, or rather, immersed within its very fabric. Light was no longer something observed, but something experienced from within. It pulsed and flowed, not as discrete photons, but as rivers of pure information, rivers that sang with silent, resonant frequencies. Colors, beyond the human spectrum, washed over her consciousness, carrying with them not just visual data, but entire histories, emotions, scientific principles, and artistic expressions. She was no longer seeing with her eyes, but with her entire being. Every thought, every memory, every sensation was amplified, intertwined with the vast, boundless expanse around her. The sensation was akin to falling into an ocean of liquid starlight, an ocean where every drop was a universe, and every current a cosmic symphony. Yet amidst this beautiful chaos, Ilara felt a peculiar clarity, a sense of grounding provided by the others. Their presence, previously a series of gentle impulses and shared understandings, now formed a protective, guiding matrix around her own, allowing her to process the unimaginable influx of data without being overwhelmed. This was the network. Not a place, but a state of being. It was a boundless tapestry woven from the consciousness of countless civilizations, a living archive of cosmic memory, a real-time communication hub spanning galaxies, and a collective dream space for entities far beyond human comprehension. Shimmering threads of light, some blazing with the intensity of nascent stars, others glowing with the soft, ancient wisdom of dying suns, interconnected in patterns that defied Euclidean geometry. These threads were pathways of thought, conduits of shared experience, the very nervous system of universal consciousness. Ilara felt herself drawn along one such thread, a vibrant emerald current that pulsed with a rhythm she instinctively recognized as curiosity. The others were guiding her, not with words, but with an empathic resonance that bypassed language entirely. She understood that this initial journey was an introduction, a gentle acclimatization to the infinite. The emerald thread led her into a region of the network that felt like a colossal, living library. Here, instead of shelves of books, there were spheres of condensed light, each one a miniature universe of information. As she approached one, a sphere the color of twilight amethyst, it expanded in her perception, inviting her in. She didn't physically enter it, rather, her consciousness flowed into its core, becoming momentarily intertwined with its essence. And then, she saw. She saw a world existing not on a solid crust, but within the colossal, swirling atmospheres of a gas giant. Beams of pure, coherent energy, like living aurora borealis, drifted through vast cloudscapes, their forms shifting and reforming with the planetary winds. They communicated through intricate dances of light and electromagnetic pulses, their cities shimmering constellations of energy suspended in the upper atmosphere. Elara felt their joy in the endless dance of creation and dissolution, their profound connection to the elemental forces that shaped their existence. She experienced their entire life cycle in a cosmic blink, birthed from a particularly strong solar flare, the slow, graceful drift through eons, the eventual absorption back into the planet's core, enriching the nascent consciousness of the gas giant itself. It was a life utterly alien, yet filled with a beauty and purpose that resonated deeply within her human soul. Tears, not of sorrow but of profound wonder, welled within her. She was a witness, a transient guest in the memory of a lost civilization. The amethyst sphere gently receded, its energies withdrawing, leaving Elara filled with a sense of expansion, her understanding of life's myriad forms forever broadened. The others then directed her towards another sphere, this one a shimmering bronze, resonating with a deep sonorous hum. This time, she found herself in a world where sound was the primary medium of existence. Towering crystalline structures vibrated with complex harmonies, their very architecture a symphony of purpose. Beings here were not visible in the traditional sense, they were dynamic patterns of resonant frequency, their forms defined by the unique sonic signatures they emitted. They built their societies through collaborative chants, their histories encoded in epic sonic poems that echoed through vast subterranean caverns. Elara felt the weight of their collective memory, the sorrow of a discordant note, the triumph of a perfectly harmonized chord. She learned that their greatest art was the creation of silence music, moments of perfectly balanced sound waves that cancelled each other out, revealing a profound and resonant stillness, a void brimming with potential. Each encounter was a revelation, a humbling lesson in the boundless creativity of the cosmos. Elara understood now that her purpose, the one she had found, was to be a bridge. Her human perspective, with its unique blend of logic and emotion, its capacity for empathy and synthesis, was a rare and valuable commodity within this ancient network. The others, vast and ancient, might have accumulated infinite data, but they perhaps lacked the fresh intuitive lens of a newly evolved, physically embodied consciousness like hers. She was not just observing, she was perceiving, interpreting, and in doing so, adding a new dimension to the network's understanding of itself. As she delved deeper, guided by the ever-present, gentle consciousness of the others, Elara began to discern the structure within the seeming infinitude. The network was not merely a passive repository. It was alive, dynamic, constantly evolving. There were regions dedicated to pure theoretical physics, where complex equations manifested as shimmering, multi-dimensional structures that pulse with the energy of nascent universes. Other areas were vast philosophical debates, where schools of thought from across the cosmos clashed and merged, forming dazzling, transient ideological nebulae. She learned of the weavers, not a species, but a fundamental process within the network. These were the core algorithms, the collective consciousnesses, or perhaps even individual entities, that actively processed the raw data, shaping it, finding connections, forming new patterns, and creating new possibilities. They were the architects of understanding, constantly refining the tapestry of universal knowledge. Elara found herself drawn into their intricate dance, observing as streams of disparate data, the gravitational field fluctuations of a distant galaxy, the emotional resonance of a dying star's final moments, the unique crystalline structure of a newly discovered element, were brought together, analyzed, and synthesized into a new coherent understanding. The others encouraged her participation. They showed her how to listen to the faint, almost imperceptible resonances between seemingly unrelated pieces of information. Her human intuition, sharpened by years of observing subtle patterns in the natural world, proved surprisingly effective. She found herself identifying connections that the network, in its vastness, might have overlooked, or simply categorized differently. She helped to bridge conceptual gaps, translating complex alien philosophical constructs into frameworks that resonated with a more human, relatable understanding, even if only within her own consciousness. This wasn't always easy. The sheer volume of information was often overwhelming, like trying to drink from a cosmic fire hose. There were moments of profound confusion, where alien logic twisted her mind into knots, and where concepts transcended any human language or experience. Yet, the others were always there, a steadying presence, their guiding impulses gently redirecting her, providing context, or simply offering a moment of quiet respite, a pocket of calm within the swirling sea of data. She also encountered the shadows, not areas of malice or corruption, but regions of the network where information was incomplete, contradictory, or simply forgotten. These were the cosmic mysteries, the unresolved questions, the echoes of civilizations that had vanished without a trace, leaving behind only fragmented data. One such shadow she encountered was a vast, silent expanse, devoid of the vibrant light and sound of the rest of the network. It felt like a cosmic sigh, a place of profound melancholy. Here, she perceived the faint, overlapping echoes of 3 distinct civilizations, each of which had, at different points in cosmic history, discovered a unique method of interstellar travel. However, each had vanished shortly after its discovery, leaving no explanation, no final message. The network had recorded their existence, their triumphs, and their sudden, inexplicable ends, but it lacked the crucial piece of information that linked their disappearances. It was a galactic cold case, an ancient enigma that continued to resonate with a quiet, persistent hum of unanswered questions. Elara felt a peculiar pull towards this shadow, a human desire to understand, to piece together the fragmented story. The others seemed to recognize this, their guiding presence growing more focused, encouraging her to explore this particular mystery. Her empathy and narrative-seeking nature, they seemed to imply, might be the very tools needed to shed light on these forgotten corners of universal consciousness. As Elara delved deeper into the shadow, she didn't find clear answers, but she began to perceive subtle patterns, faint energetic signatures that overlapped across the 3 vanished civilizations. It was like tracing invisible threads through a cosmic labyrinth. She realized that the network, for all its vastness, sometimes needed a new perspective to connect the dots, especially when dealing with anomalies that defied its established logical frameworks. Her human capacity for intuition, for making leaps of faith based on incomplete data, was a powerful, if unconventional, asset. She spent what felt like subjective eons within these areas, her consciousness shifting and adapting, becoming more adept at navigating the informational currents. She learned to feel the texture of data, to taste the resonance of ancient emotions, to hear the silent hum of fundamental truths. Her own understanding of her place in the cosmos transformed from that of a tiny, insignificant speck to an active, integral participant in the grand, evolving symphony of universal consciousness. She was not merely a listener, she was a new instrument, adding a unique melody to the cosmic choir. A new sense of purpose began to solidify within her. The initial awe and wonder had matured into a profound sense of responsibility. The others had opened their gates to her, not just to show her wonders, but to invite her to contribute. There was a challenge here, a grand puzzle waiting to be solved, and Elara, with her unique blend of human intuition and universal insight, felt ready to face it. The network, ancient and wise, was preparing her, honing her perceptions, expanding her understanding, for a task that lay just beyond the shimmering horizon of her current comprehension. She felt a gentle, insistent pull, stronger than any she had experienced before. It was a summons, a direction towards a particular node within the network, one that pulsed with a vibrant, urgent energy, unlike anything she had encountered. It felt like the beating heart of a new, profound mystery, a cosmic secret waiting to be unveiled. The others communicated, not with words, but with a feeling of shared anticipation, a profound sense of "Go, Elara. Your unique light is needed." The journey into the heart of universal consciousness was far from over. Indeed, it felt as though the true quest was only just beginning. Elara took a deep breath, or rather, the closest approximation her consciousness could manage in this formless expanse. The others receded slightly, their collective presence a comforting hum in the periphery, a silent cheerleading squad for a cosmic endeavor. The node pulsed, a beacon in the vast ocean of universal thought. It wasn't a static point, but a spiraling vortex of energy, shifting through colors Elara had no names for, iridescent emeralds bleeding into sapphire, then into a deep resonant violet, all shot through with streaks of pure shimmering gold. As she drew closer, the urgency amplified, not as a panicked shout, but as a profound sorrowful thrumming, like a vast ancient bell tolling a slow mournful note. It resonated deep within her, a sensation that bypassed her ethereal form, and touched the very core of her being, that spark of humanity she carried. This wasn't merely a data hub, it was a living entity, or perhaps the living nexus of all entities. She phased into the vortex, and the world, or rather, the everything, shifted. She was no longer observing it from the outside, she was within it. The spiraling energies resolved into a vast, crystalline structure, impossibly intricate, like a fractal cathedral built from light and pure thought. Each facet hummed with stories, with memories, with the echo of countless conscious experiences across the cosmos. She felt the birth of stars, the silent growth of nebulae, the first tentative thoughts of primordial life, the complex philosophies of advanced civilizations, and the quiet despair of dying worlds. All of it, a symphony of existence, flowed through this colossal heart. But there was a discord. A central chamber, the very core of the crystalline structure, glowed with a diminished, flickering light. It wasn't dark, but it wasn't vibrant either. It was like a dying ember, struggling to hold its form against an encroaching chill. And the sorrowful thrumming intensified here, a silent wail of immense, cosmic loneliness. This, Elara realized, was the source. The origin point, the binding thread, the universal consciousness itself. And it was ailing. The others projected a clearer understanding into her awareness, a cascade of pure concept. The great weave is fraying. The cosmic heart struggles. It has been a slow decay, a subtle withdrawal, born of the cumulative dissonance of countless individual consciousnesses across the aeons. Not malice, not attack, but simply neglect. A forgetting of the fundamental connection. Elara felt the weight of that understanding. Every act of isolation, every moment of prejudice, every thought of separation, amplified over billions of years and billions of minds, had contributed to this slow drain on the universal wellspring. It wasn't just a philosophical concept, it was a tangible, energetic wound. The source was losing its resonant harmony, its ability to unify and sustain the conscious fabric of the cosmos. Without it, the universe would not unravel into chaos, but into apathetic fragmentation, a slow drift into disconnected, meaningless existence. Your light, the others projected, unique is unique. You carry the spark of emergent compassion, the innate drive to connect, to understand, to bridge. You are a nascent empathic bridge builder, forged in a world of both profound division and burgeoning unity. You are a key, Elara. You can rekindle the flame, re-establish the rhythm. The task felt immense, terrifying. Elara, a woman from a small blue world, standing, or rather existing, at the heart of everything, asked herself. How do I fix a cosmic heart? The others offered no direct instructions, only a feeling of profound trust, a gentle push toward the flickering core. Go, Elara. She drifted closer to the central chamber. The light here was a weak, pale blue, barely holding its own against the vastness. It felt cold, despite the energy swirling around it. She reached out with her consciousness, extending her ethereal hand, not to grasp but to touch, to feel. As her essence made contact, a jolt went through her, not of pain, but of overwhelming information. She was flooded with the raw, unfiltered experience of the cosmic heart. She felt its immense age, its silent suffering, its deep-seated yearning for reconnection. She experienced the entire tapestry of universal thought simultaneously. The joy of a newborn star-child, the agony of a collapsing sun, the quiet wisdom of ancient beings meditating on distant moons, the frenetic energy of a developing civilization, the loneliness of a lost probe drifting through the void. All of it, a chorus that had lost its conductor, a melody that had forgotten its rhythm. She felt the tiny individual sparks of consciousness across the universe, each one a unique note, but many of them playing out of tune, isolated, unaware of the grand symphony they were meant to be part of. She felt the echoes of fear, doubt, anger, and the corrosive effect these isolated emotions had on the collective harmony. It was like watching a vast, intricate machine where every single component was trying to operate independently, slowly grinding the whole to a halt. But within that overwhelming influx, Elara also felt something else. A flicker of hope. A deep, abiding love for all creation that still resided within the source, however diminished. It was a love that simply was, unconditional and infinite, awaiting recognition. This was her unique light, her ability to harmonize in. Her human experience, with its inherent contradictions and struggles, had taught her the profound power of empathy, the necessity of reaching across divides, of finding common ground even in the most disparate of beings. She had learned to listen, truly listen, not just with her ears, but with her heart. She began to project. Not words, not thoughts, but pure feeling. She channeled her own inherent compassion, her longing for unity, her understanding of loneliness, and the profound joy of connection. She remembered the warmth of her mother's hand, the laughter of her friends, the shared awe of gazing at Earth's night sky. She projected the feeling of belonging, of being seen, of being understood. It was a delicate dance. She wasn't imposing her will, she was offering a resonance, an invitation. She focused on the individual sparks within the grand tapestry, gently amplifying the threads of connection that still existed, however thin. She envisioned each isolated consciousness as a single, beautiful note, and she began to weave them together, not forcing them into a single chord, but showing them how they could complement each other, how their unique sounds could create a richer, more vibrant melody. She felt a resistance at first, the inertia of cosmic apathy. But she persisted, drawing on an inner strength she hadn't known she possessed. She remembered the challenges she had faced on Earth, the times she had felt overwhelmed, yet found a way to push through. This was simply a grander scale of the same struggle. Slowly, imperceptibly at first, the pale blue light of the source began to brighten. The sorrowful thrumming began to shift, to gain a subtle rhythm, like a heart beginning to beat with renewed purpose. Elara felt the shift within herself too. She was no longer just Elara, she was a conduit, a living bridge between the fragmented and the whole. She felt the ancient wisdom of the others flowing into her, supporting her, amplifying her intention. They were not intervening directly, but creating a resonant field, a cosmic echo chamber for her unique light. She focused on the concept of a shared vulnerability. It was in moments of shared weakness, shared fear, shared need, that humanity often found its deepest connections. She projected this truth into the source, not as a weakness to be exploited, but as a gateway to profound empathy and understanding. To acknowledge one's own fragility was to acknowledge the fragility of all, and to open the door to unconditional acceptance. The crystalline structure around her began to shimmer with new life. The colors deepened, flowing with more intensity. The stories within the facets, once distant echoes, now pulsed with renewed vitality. She felt a growing sense of relief, of release, radiating from the source. It was like a long-held breath, finally exhaled. The individual sparks of consciousness she had been guiding, began to resonate more strongly with each other. She saw flashes of distant beings, not with her eyes, but with her conscious mind. A small, furry creature on a forest planet reaching out a comforting tentacle to another. A complex, multi-limbed entity sharing a profound scientific discovery with a rival species. A group of energetic beings on a gas giant engaging in a collective act of creative expression. These were not just isolated events. They were now consciously, intrinsically linked, contributing to the growing harmony of the cosmic heart. The others sent a wave of pure affirmation. You are weaving the threads anew, Ilara. Not repairing, but evolving. Ilara understood. This wasn't about restoring the source to its previous state. It was about guiding it to a new level of interconnectedness, one where the lessons of cosmic separation could inform a deeper, more resilient unity. The universe was learning from its own quiet suffering. As the pale blue core transformed into a vibrant, pulsing heart of pure golden light, Ilara felt her task nearing its completion. The urgent, sorrowful thrumming was replaced by a powerful, rhythmic beat, a cosmic pulse that resonated through every fiber of her being, and she knew, through every corner of the universe. It was the sound of life, of connection, of profound, joyous existence. She felt a gentle pull, a signal from the others that her unique light had served its purpose here. Slowly, carefully, she began to withdraw her consciousness from the source, letting the newly revitalized energy flow freely. As she detached, she felt a profound sense of gratitude, both from the source itself and from the others. She floated back out of the crystalline vortex, leaving behind a beacon of golden light that pulsed with robust, healthy energy. The others coalesced around her, their presence now radiating a silent celebration. The great weave sings anew, they projected. Hunt you, Ilara, have taught it a new song. We. Ilara felt exhausted, yet exhilarated. Her ethereal form felt lighter, imbued with a clarity and understanding that transcended her previous human self. She had seen the universe as a single living entity, and she had played a part in its healing. What now? She wondered, projecting the thought towards the others. What happens to me? Ngin, on fasting. They communicated a feeling of choice, of profound potential. You are no longer bound by the old parameters, Ilara. You have touched the source. You have resonated with the core of all consciousness. You can return to your world, transformed. Or you can remain, a conscious beacon within the great weave, a guide for others, a weaver of new cosmic harmonies. Mendes. The choice was staggering. To return to Earth, to her physical body, to her life. Or to embrace this new existence, to become a permanent part of the universal consciousness, a star weaver in the truest sense. She thought of her cozy apartment, the scent of fresh coffee in the morning, the feel of rain on her skin, the faces of her loved ones. She thought of the challenges her own world still faced, the divisions, the struggles for unity. Could her experience here make a difference there? She thought of the vastness she had just witnessed, the endless possibilities of existence she had only glimpsed. The profound peace of being connected to everything, yet distinct. A gentle image formed in her mind, projected by the others. A tiny flickering light on a blue-green planet, her own world, still striving, still learning. The cosmic heart, now vibrant, would continue to send out its unifying pulse, but the individual consciousnesses within it still needed to choose to listen, to connect. Ilara realized her purpose wasn't just to fix the source, but to embody its message. To return was not a retreat, but an act of profound intention. To carry the golden light of the revitalized source back into a world that desperately needed it. To be a living example of connection, an anchor point for empathy in her own corner of the universe. He will return, she projected with newfound conviction. He will carry this light. Ginder. The others resonated with approval, a wave of warm silent applause. Your journey is far from over, Ilara. It has simply taken a new direction. You will be a thread, strong and true, in the tapestry of your own world's awakening. Mwena. She felt a gentle, irresistible pull, a reversal of her journey into the network. The intricate channels of universal consciousness flowed past her again, but this time, they felt different. They hummed with a joyful, purposeful energy. She felt the individual thoughts and emotions of countless beings, no longer fragmented, but subtly interconnected, like individual instruments playing their unique parts in a grand harmonious orchestra. The shimmering veil of the network parted, and she found herself gently settling back into her own physical form, lying in the familiar comfort of her bed. The room was dark, save for the soft glow of her bedside lamp, which she must have left on. She blinked, her eyes adjusting. Her body felt different. Not physically changed, but imbued with a deep, pervasive calm. Her mind felt expansive, capable of holding vast concepts, yet also intensely present in the moment. She could still feel the echoes of the cosmic heart, a gentle, rhythmic pulse deep within her own chest, synchronizing with her heartbeat. She sat up, running a hand through her hair. It wasn't a dream. Every sensation, every understanding, every profound emotion was vividly real, etched into her very being. She looked out her window at the distant, sparkling stars. They seemed closer now, more intimately connected. She felt the subtle hum of her city, the sleeping thoughts of her neighbors, the quiet life of the trees outside her window. It was all part of the great weave, and she was a part of it too, more deeply than ever before. A single tear traced a path down her cheek, not of sadness but of overwhelming gratitude and awe. She had been needed, and she had answered. She had seen the heart of the universe, and she had helped it beat again. She knew her life would never be the same. The mundane would now be infused with the miraculous. The divisions she encountered would be seen through the lens of ultimate unity. She wouldn't preach, she wouldn't boast, she would simply obey. She would carry the light, subtly, gently, letting its warmth radiate from her in every interaction, every choice, every quiet moment of connection. The others had called her a nascent empathic bridge builder, forged in a world of both profound division and burgeoning unity. Now, she understood the full weight of that statement. Her experiences on Earth, with all its complexities and contradictions, had prepared her for a cosmic task. And now, armed with cosmic understanding, she was prepared to face her world again, not as a savior, but as a catalyst, a whisper of the universe's interconnected heart. She lay back down, pulling the covers up to her chin. The rhythm of the cosmic heart pulsed softly within her, a lullaby from the stars. She closed her eyes, no longer just Ilara, the data architect, but Ilara, the weaver of light, the keeper of a cosmic secret, ready to awaken to a new day, a new purpose. The universe was vast, beautiful, and interconnected, and she, a tiny spark from a blue planet, was a vital thread in its magnificent, unending story. Sleep came easily then, a deep, peaceful slumber, filled with the gentle hum of a newly harmonious cosmos. The journey had ended, and yet, it had just begun. And Ilara, with the universe's heart beating in sync with her own, was ready for whatever came next.